Can we do, can you do something with a background or some kind of effect here? Oh no. Oh no. I don't know. I'm trying to see what I can do about this here background. I didn't know all of this was going on or was available because I've seen people go totally like, I guess you can do that. I guess there's a way to have done that. To go with no face at all. And that's maybe what I should have opted to do because I'm a mess. But anyway, it don't matter. It doesn't matter right now anyway. Hi everybody. Whoever's here, if you're here, I don't know. But, and I hope you can hear me because I'm really using my telephone because I was not expecting at all to do this moment. But I have been just sitting here chilling and it's 19:55 on the 6 o'clock. Hi. And I also know that I owe Kata a telephone call because she called me earlier and I was on the phone with someone else. And I forgot to call her back. I just remembered that. So I apologize for that. So if Kata's anywhere around. But, there's a picture of the bell tower in Panama, is what I think that is. Or if it's not, I saw a picture yesterday of the bell tower, or the day before, because this weekend was Panama National Panamanian Day in New York, well, in the United States, and there was a parade in Brooklyn, down Franklin Avenue, and the ladies have the palero dresses on, and they playing the steel drums, and all of the soca and the calypso and the salsa, and it's beautiful, and the flag, and it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And years ago, my mom and I saw a picture, a black and white picture of my mom and my aunt, and they were little girls, and that was the first time the first time I saw that I did really look like my mother when I was a little girl, is because it looked like me. And then my aunt, it looked, they just were beautiful little dolls, and they were both dressed up in these beautiful palero dresses, and they were all ruffled, and different tiers if you ever see the girls in Panama when they get dressed for carnival, and very Spanish looking, with the hairdress and the flowers and all, and the two of them, and they had to be, I think that I was told that my aunt was 4, and so that would have made my mother, so my mother would have been 9, yeah, okay, yeah, about 9. Beautiful. And when I went to Panama on my own years later, on a tour with caravan tours, very excellent experience, and very reasonably priced, and was a real wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. And so I had the opportunity to go to Cologne, and I had the opportunity to go to Gatun, which the part of Panama that my mother and her family, our family, basically everybody, my grandfather, everybody, my step grandmother, everybody, everybody grew up in Gatun or Cologne, Silver City, all that whole area. They worked on the canal zone. They worked on the locks. Anyway, these dresses are just so gorgeous. and they fit them off the shoulder, and it's just gorgeous. So when I was on the tour, they explained to us that these dresses are handmade. So of course, I mean, back in the 30s or the 40s, yeah, of course, especially, but my mother's grandmother was, she was a seamstress, but her work was to do ladies' hats. So she was more of a millinery person, I guess. And she was doing the hats for the, wives of the white men who were, you know, working on the canal, like the officers, the captains, whoever was on the base, because it's a military base now. It was a military base then, and they're building the canal zone and the whole 9 yards, right? So they had military hospitals, so there were nurses that were, American nurses or from other countries and stuff. So that's the business that she had. My other grandmother, her other grandmother, which would have been my great grandmother, she ran like a boarding house for the migrants, workers, black guys, Jamaican, wherever different countries they came from. She ran a home where she, rented rooms, and she prepared their meals, and she did their laundry and stuff. So, and somehow or another, for, it was very, very expensive to have these dresses made. And to have two of them made exactly the same for two little girls for the same carnival, that was expensive. When I told them, the tour guide, about the picture, which has been mislocated for some reason over the years, it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful picture. And they were so innocent, and they had their dresses, pulled out, looking all cute. Oh, my Aunt Carol and my mother, Eleanor. And they were just little baby dolls. So innocent. And, I mean, everything. The bracelets, the whole 9 yards. In a black and white picture, and they're outside. Or at least it appears that they're outside, because, photographers can make anything. But it looked like they were outside. And beautiful little matching dresses, matching shoes, socks, the whole 9 yards, looking all regal, the hair and everything put back. Oh, gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And when I saw the parade yesterday, it reminded me again of that picture, and, the beauty of growing up in that culture, along with being an American, but also having access to the richness of that culture. That's something that I'm so grateful for. Even my sister, my younger sister, well, they're all younger than me, but the one that's next to me, I had sent some music, because, that's what we do. We pass music, and we grew up on music, so that's what we do. So now I passed the salsa and the soca yesterday. She knows every word to those songs. To me, it's gobbledygook, because I really just don't, I know the, like the bridge, something, but all of the everything, and all of the disgustingness, because that's what it is, because when you know the words, it's rudeness. That's what it is. Thank you, Spirit. That's what it is, rudeness. And my sister knows all of it, just like I have my uncle. He knows all of it. The two of them are clowns together. Oh my God, Eddie and Lorraine are so funny. But anyway, she knew all the words to these songs by Mighty Sparrow and by I don't know who else they all sound alike. But anyway, she knew everything. We went to a winery years ago, she and I, and I guess this was before my son was born, down in Virginia, and they had a live music band there. And we were good until they started playing Red Wine. Lorraine gets up. She got the moves. She got the words. She know the whole. And it's like, and she's such a conservative. I accuse her all the time of being a Republican, but I know she's not. But then again, she might be. You never know with her. Anyway, Capricorn. Anyway, but it was so funny that she knew words to everything, and then you know, it was a different experience for us growing up, the two of us, I think, for my younger sister and brother, because we were older and so we were more aware of what was happening, but they didn't too much skip them either. You know, they're not that far apart. But, oh my goodness. But I guess I was busy reading, or basically reading underneath the covers while they listening to all the calypso and the cackling and carrying Eve's air hustling. That's what they call it, air hustling. Because parties was going on in my mother's house when she was at work. My grandmother, when she came to America, it was on and popping, man. We was having session, that's what they called it. When my mother left out the house, she worked midnight, and my grandmother and her husband and my aunt and their cousins and whomever come and sit down at the table, and the liquor comes out, and the pig's feet, and the potato salad, and the crackers, and carrying on. Lord have mercy. But, and laughter, and dancing, and lots of details. Because when they drunk, they telling each other business, you know, and stuff like that. And that's how you find out a lot of things when, you know, because you know everybody's family lies, right? So when, that's how we found things out on my father's side when my aunts was mad at each other. And then we would find things out on my mother's side when they was drunk. Because on my father's side, if they was drunk, it was fights. It wasn't, you know. But if they was fighting without drinking, which is my aunts didn't drink. My father, ridiculous. But my aunts weren't, you know, they had maybe my Aunt Marie would drink beer. Rheingold, Miller, Valentine, I guess. My Aunt Ethel, no. I'm sure she has taken a drink. And if she didn't, she needed to. But I'm pretty sure she's drank. Yeah. But not like, yeah, I've seen her tipsy, okay. And she wasn't smoking nothing. She never smoked a cigarette. I never saw her smoke a cigarette. My Aunt Marie and my father, all the time. But Aunt Ethel, she ain't smoke. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Because she was always cooking and she was doing people's hair. So when do you have time to smoke a cigarette, right? Because she worked in she owned her own restaurant and she was a hairdresser. So when you going to have time for that? But Mom Marie was, you know, reading cards. Not reading cards. She was a spiritual advisor. She was a metaphysician, as she would say. And so, yeah? You leaving? Thank you. I'm live. Just leave it there. Thanks, honey. I'm on YouTube. Thank you. So anyway, yeah, we never saw her do any of that crap. She did her shit sober. So she had no excuse. None at all. But even when she and Aunt Marie would fight, it wasn't because anybody was drunk. It was just because they're sisters. That's how they would do sometimes. And then sometimes they would, you know, do other things. There's a terrible story of my father kicking both of them down the steps when they was trying to come at him for something, and he, you know, but he was really badass and had no business doing any of that. But, you know, that's what the things that kids, you know, oh my God, Lord have mercy. If y'all don't even understand what trauma is, Jesus. Anyway, moving on. Back to my mother's side of the family. I mean, they had their horror stories too, but oh, Jesus. Anyway, Yeah, it was a good weekend, but it just had me cracking up. And my sisters were like, we're all immersed in this culture in our own little way, without really being part of it. It's like they pass down traditions and foods and things like that. But and when I get it together, folks, I'm gonna show y'all a couple of those dishes. I promised myself I'm gonna do that. I ordered an iPad, a new one, so things are gonna be happening. I'm getting it together, folks. Um, because I got to soon, right? And so I guess that's what I wanted to do tonight, is just put some of these stories down. Maybe I'll leave it, maybe this will stay up, or maybe it won't, but it'll stay on the channel for my children, for my legacy. Some of the good times, some of the good things. We're very musical on every side of our family. Everybody sings, everybody or has a musical ability of some sort, or works in the music industry. Um, but lots of music and names like lyric and jazz in my family on my mother's side. Um, we're very musical. We love music. We love to move. We love to dance. Very much that is part of who we are. Um, it's a really interesting culture because you got a lot of British influence because of people from Barbados and Jamaica and other places underneath the British Empire at the time. And people who were indigenous natives to that area, the San Blas Indians and others, as they're called, um, along with people who were previously enslaved, who were African, who are part of the natural people who indigenous, just like America, right? So it's beautiful. I was looking at pictures today of my aunts, and everybody is beautiful. We're weird, okay? They're beautiful girls, beautiful women, very beautiful women, and mm, yeah, got to say that. And we don't all look alike, but even the ones we bring in and marry in, it's just something, you know. Beautiful women in our own rights, and grateful for that. Um, proud of that. Proud of that. Somebody must be trying to channel through here. I would notice. Okay. All right. Anyway, I wanted to tell some things that I found, little funny incidents, or, you know, I mean, I had a life before I became a correction officer. I had a life before I came onto YouTube. Quite a life. Um, and I want to make sure that some of those, I don't know if I ever said it here. This is, I ain't lying. Swear to God. However you want to say it. Believe me when I tell you. This is not for vanity. I want to tell these stories because this is just some funny shit. Listen. Um, this guy wanted to date me, I guess, really, really badly. And I used to take the bus to work. real long distance from like the end of the bus line almost to the other end of the bus line because I didn't know how to drive, but I had to be at work, and I worked every day. And I had to take my daughter to the babysitter, so I was always on buses or taxis. That's why I learned to drive because, yo, it was ridiculous. I couldn't afford to keep doing this. And when I moved out here to Long Island, I was like, mm, 22, 21. My daughter was like 18 months old, right? So maybe 23. I was young. I don't know. Maybe 22. Yeah, she was still a baby. 18 months old. 20. My birthday's at the end of the year, so it was 23 maybe. But I was out here and I was working as a dental assistant. And this guy was the driver, the bus driver. Or that's what I thought. He was one of the bus drivers because he was always at the, like I said, at the end, the depot, I guess. But that's where all the bus drivers would get off and get their assignments or whatever, their locker room, all of that was down there. And that's also where the final bus stop was. It was like a major hub type area. It still is, but I think they changed the way it is. I think it's a little more separate from where they bring the buses to where they congregate. But at the time, it was quite part of where they were. So, and you just wait there for the bus to, for him, whoever the driver was, to open the door while you're standing in the cold freezing sometimes, whatever. Moving on. So anyway, I would always see this guy and say hello, whatever, when I'm leaving to go home or whatever, in the afternoons. And then one day, he said that he was going to come and pick me up and take me out. Okay. And he had been asking and asking. He was annoying. So, okay. And I gave him my address. My daughter was at my mother's, I think. But she wasn't there. I know that. This dude drove up to my house in the bus, like the city bus. And he had on his uniform and the whole 9 yards, whatever. So I get him out my house. Now, I live on a private street. It's not like a main drag. I wasn't living like on a major place that you would just be seeing buses and, that kind of traffic go by. It was not that type of neighborhood. Very quiet, residential homes. And, hey, thanks for letting me know that you can hear what I'm saying, because I wasn't sure. But anyway, I'm just talking. I'm not doing any readings. Things come through sometimes, so you never know. But I just wanted to get some things off my chest, and thanks for joining me. I'm just telling stories because I think I need to get it out. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to die and I need to get this stuff out. Who knows? Because tomorrow ain't promised to none of us, right? So I guess that was, what I'm led to do, and I'm going to do it. Tell my story. Or tell some stories. So anyway, we were waiting. He was waiting outside for me. And I went outside, Actually, he came to the door because there was no cell phones and I didn't have a telephone. And I lived at the back of the house. So he came around and rang the bell, and he was ready to get me when it was time for me to go. Yes, because I was going to pick up my daughter from my mother's. It was a Saturday. Right. That was, okay, here we go. So I had to go to Queens from Long Island, and he came and picked me up. And lo and behold, there was no car when I went outside. It was the bus, the city bus. Okay, he's a driver. You know what he's doing. He could do this. I don't know what the rules are. Man, I go outside and he takes me back and he does the route. He does the route. He takes people. He drops folks off. He collects transfers. He gives transfers. He's making change the whole 9 yards. Because back then, the driver would have change to give. The machine would bring to give the change out. When I was a little girl, they used to actually ride with change on their hip, on the belt, and they would like actually hit the little button, and the quarters and the dimes and the nickels, pennies, whatever the change was that you were owed, they would bring it out, and if they had to give you bills, they would do that too. You know, because the rides were like 5 cents. I think when I was a little girl, the lowest it was might have been 10 cents or 5 cents, dollar. Anyway, we yeah. I mean, I remember bread being 25 cents, a loaf of Wonder Bread, 29 maybe, and then it's been like crazy, you know. And that was in the 60s, so prices have really gone up. Um, and my mother and them have, they had bread that was never in a package, and of course, then it was 5 cents and then 10 cents. Same with them. When the buses and trains first started, it was only a nickel to get on the train, and you get a token, which was only worth the price of the train. That's how people would, budget themselves. They buy the tokens and hold on to them so that at least they have money to go to work. They always put their money to the side. Or at least that's what smart, responsible people did who were taking the trains into the city. They would make sure that they had their change, their money, whatever, the fare for the month, the week, until the next paycheck to the side, just to make sure that they could get to work. Well, that's the way I was raised. So I'm telling you, maybe if this is my grandkids watching this 20 years from now, that's how we did it, You put your money aside for your essentials. You got to get to work. Make sure your car can work if you have a car. If you can't, if you're not driving, make sure you have enough to get your butt to work and enough time to get the next paycheck, okay? Because that's what it's about, and be on time, and don't be an idiot, don't mess with people. Do your work, mind your business, keep your head down. Be friendly, but not so much. You know, guard yourself, protect your energy. You know, do not date where you work. Anyway, so the dude took me to the city. I went, picked up my daughter. When I came back, he was the bus driver. He told me he was going to be there, and he was there. Okay. So I went and picked up my daughter. He parked the bus there, and he waited for me. He had lunch, whatever he was going to do. And then I got my daughter. I got back on the bus. And the same thing, he dropped off all the passengers and picked them up and, transferred them in the whole damn 9 yards and dropped me off at home. With my daughter, good night. Great day. Thank you. I didn't pay. Yeah, I think that I didn't pay. He took care of it. It was like, what, $1.25. But no big deal. But it was nice of him, It was convenient. That saved me from having to do the taxi from where I lived to the bus because that's, like I said, it wasn't on the line on a Saturday because they had different schedules for the weekends out here. It was really bad. There were places when I first moved out to Long Island that didn't have sidewalks. It was dirt. And now it's sidewalks, nice sidewalks. But I've seen the changes. So I guess that means I've gotten old because I've seen the dirt road become but they did that a while back. I was here to see that. But I connected with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and she grew up out here. And I met her when I first moved out here. Her name is Kathy. And I reconnected with her the other day, and it was so good to see her again. And, she reminded me of, those things that we had gone through as young women. You know, nobody's a saint. You do things that you're not so proud of. But I digress. Why? Now, Long Island has his own TV station for news and stuff. And I'm a news head, so I was watching Channel 12. Why Sunday morning they was on there talking about someone had taken the bus and left it with the keys, and they could tell that the person, that whoever drove it, had done the route and collected the money and everything was fine. Can you imagine? I'm sitting there looking at the television like, oh. And I couldn't tell nobody. I'm sure it's a statute of limitations, okay? I'm sure. This is back in the 80s, so I don't even know if he's dead. Hopefully he is, because he's an idiot, in other words. But this, oh my God, he was weird. He was very weird. That was the first time I ever knew about such a thing. I mean, I knew about it, but I saw this guy was a transvestite too. He was just like a all day masquerade. He was not a bus driver. His friend was a bus driver. He took his uniform. They were roommates. And he actually was a cross-dresser. I had no idea. He called me up like he was another woman when I was dating him, after I had been dating him for a little bit. Not long. But he called me up and had changed his voice, and he confronted me about him. And come to find out, it was him. People think that this shit doesn't happen. It happens in real life to people. For real. That happened to me. With this same person. He was a pervert. Crazy. And I'm not saying it because of that. You laughing to me, child, please. It was real. It was damn real. It was damn real. He was a sick puppy. But, I mean, when I asked him about that, he said that he wanted to impress me. Come on, dude. I should have never went out with him again, right? But I did. Because it was like, it wasn't right away. Many months passed, whatever, after that. But, oh, word. What other weirdness have I dealt with men? Let's talk about that. In case you're my great-granddaughter or my granddaughter. Weirdness. I'll try to make it light stuff. Not the deep stuff. Okay. My ex-husband. I swear no one would believe this nonsense that has happened to me. I'm with this man. We drove my car to Rockville Center, I think. And we get out the car. I swear to you, the helicopters, when the police are circling the area, black people know what I'm talking about, that day, and you see the darkness kind of coming up, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful summer day, spring day, and I'm with my husband, get out my car, holding hands, we're getting ready to go into the deli. There was some special deli over there that he wanted to go to. And the next thing I know, they're calling out his name. Swear to God. Swear to God. Swear to God. Swear to God. They're calling out his name on a bullhorn. And police are coming in cars. Cop cars. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, Mac? And he's like, PB, go ahead. It's all right, don't worry. And the cops come, and they put him in handcuffs. They asked me a few questions. And I'm standing there looking shocked as shit. So I guess they must have believed everything I'm saying because I wasn't even crying or nothing. I'm just like, what is going on? What the hell did you do? I didn't even ask, I wasn't even trying to defend him. I wasn't. I was just like, what did you do? He's like, PB, it's okay. Anyway, I had my own car, so I was able to drive myself back. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if he was getting ready to rob the place and they knew about it already and he was going to use me as a getaway car. I don't know to this day. But yes, that did happen to me. It was out of a movie. I swear to God that actually happened. But I've talked about him already. We know that he was a character. A character. But I was in love with him. Really in love with him. But, No. You know how J-Lo was in love with P. Diddy? And then that thing happened with him and her and Shine at the club? And J-Lo's family, her managers, her lawyers, they were like, we are not doing that. It was like that. And it wasn't nobody telling me but me. It was just like, oh, all right. No. When it's enough, it's enough. It's enough. It's enough. I'm patient. But, we got married for better, for worse, he told me. I said, yeah, but you gave me too much worse up front. It was supposed to be better now. Nah, you going down a whole different path. Dude, what? So that was it. Let me tell you. He called me crying in the middle of the night one night after I had moved, got a new place. He didn't know where I was. I moved, the job moved, my car broke down. There was no way for him to find me except I had the same phone number. And he called me up and he cried and I cried and begged me to meet him. No, I did not. As much as I wanted to. But I had to follow my intuition. My intuition has gotten me to where it has gotten me today. Long before YouTube, long before corrections, long before anything. All my life. And I usually follow it. I usually don't go against it. Why would I now? Why would I start now, right? But my intuition wasn't telling me shit about this motherfucker because it was not the bus driver one, my ex-husband, because he was too much. He was a character, like I said. He was the main character. All right, Spirit. Anyway, yeah. But he was beautiful. Good-looking guy. He was from Mississippi. I met him when I was working as a dental assistant. He was security next door at a store called TSS at the time they used to have out here. Times Square stores. On the same bus line. Because I told you, I ain't had no car. So the dental office is part of the Times Square stores, but it was outside of the department store itself. And he worked there as a security guard. I had been working at the dental office a long time, but they hired him and he used to run in there to eat or get supplies or things like that, or just going to the bus, And we all got on white uniforms, and there weren't that many black girls working over at the dental office then. And I guess it caught his eye. Whatever. Well, yeah, I know I did. because he started making appointments for the dentist's office. And see, nobody would believe this shit. Making appointments for the dentist's office just to see me. I was the dental assistant, and then I was the office manager at one point, but I was the dental assistant for a long time. And he would come in, and I would be the one to do the x-rays, do the cleanings, and he just wanted to talk to me, get to know me, the whole 9 yards. And then he started having work done. He didn't have any insurance, or the insurance that he had from TSS. Yeah, he had insurance from TSS, but it wasn't going to cover the things that he needed to get done, like root canals and not partial, crowns and stuff like that. And so the cavities that could get fixed got fixed, but the teeth, that needed to have root canal, he couldn't afford to do it. And so he would have the tooth pulled by the oral surgeon, the dentist. And it got so bad, the dentist said, Patty, you have to date this guy. He's going to lose all his teeth. You got to go out with him, because the only reason he comes in here all the time is because he's trying to talk to you. You got to let him take you out on a date. And I was like, for real? And the other dentists were like, yeah, it's bad. If you don't go out with him, he's not going to have no teeth left. And that used to be a joke between him and I later on anyway, about he was willing to have all his teeth pulled. But anyhow, he was a clown. And he made me laugh. And my father warned me about him. But I thought it was just because he was prejudiced against Mississippi people. But I guess he knew. He knew. But he could take care of himself. He didn't even go to high school. He didn't graduate from high school. He went to high school. He didn't graduate. He got on the bus and he made his way to New York all by himself. And all he had is his sisters were here, but they didn't really grow up with one another. And he still made it. I was impressed. And I don't know if I was looking at the potential so much as I was admiring the accomplishment. I think that that's the kind of person I am. It's like, I can respect that. I can respect that person. Even in his criminality, when I found out things that he had done, I understood not the motivation or anything, but I knew that he was going to be able to present himself to the judge or whoever and get his time reduced. Because he had that gift. He had that gift, and he was smart. Self-preservation above all things. He was the kind of guy that could sell you the car from some stranger that he didn't know, I didn't know, nobody knew. But by the time he was finished talking to you, he would have a down payment on that car, and then promise from him that you will come meet him tomorrow and he'll have the keys. Because it's his friend's car, or the owner didn't give him the keys or something like that, or he left the keys at home, or his wife went out with the keys, something. But he knew how to hustle, and it worked. And he was charming. He was clever and smart. But he thought he was going to be the Mac. For real. And he was, I came home from work, and then person, this man is laying in the bathtub, the hot bathtub, with a cigarette hanging out his mouth, with his hair back, because he had like soft hair. It wasn't Jerry curls at all. He just had that kind of hair. and green eyes, and like who's that? Say? Greg Abbott, like that look, kinda, yeah. Or even between Eric Benet and Greg Abbott, but with the hazel eyes, gorgeous. Oh man, and very romantic and erotic. Very good in bed. Very good in bed. Very good in bed. And I loved him. My daughter loved him. But people don't like to see you happy, I think. And as soon as we got married, lady upstairs, her boyfriend decided that it was a good idea to introduce my new groom to crack. And then it was over. And we had gotten married like now. Maybe today's the day? Is that what's going on? I don't know what the date is. It's been so long. I really don't remember. I know it was whenever the Mets won the World Series in the 80s. It was that week, that Thursday. That's all I remember about it. But, and that's disassociation. That's a defense mechanism because it was a hurtful thing, I think. But I had to get past it. And I couldn't have that anniversary in my head like that. Mm-mm. But I remembered, eventually I was able to put it together and remembered it was World Series time. That Thursday. Mm-hmm. Yep. The time the Mets won the World Series in the 80s. So maybe it was 86, 87, maybe around there, whatever. That was when it was. And it only was then, and as soon as that crack didn't take long to get into his bloodstream, and so he had quit his job by the next week, and when I came home from work, he was in the tub looking like Goldie from fucking, the Mac, with the cigarette hanging out his lips, like, and I was like, oh no. And he's like, come in here. With the door to the bathroom all open and the radio playing and all of this other going on. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was going to tell me how it was going to be and how it was going to be married to him. He's getting ready to lay down the law. And he wasn't going to work no more. Okay. All right. And he didn't. So he figured as long as I was going to feed my daughter, I was going to have to feed him too, because I certainly wasn't going to be able to cook for just her and myself. He'd get some food out of it. And he knew I was in love with him, and that, I'd keep a roof over his head, and why should he work? And the money I'm wasting taking the baby to the babysitter, he could take care of the baby. Like, he wanted to be the house husband now that he was on crack. But he's going to, by this time, he wasn't working security anymore. He was actually a driver for a private sanitation company. He's making good money at this point, and he's getting ready to go he was taking CDL classes in Connecticut. And that was the goal, And I remember thinking that this was going to be cool because I need my space. And as long as he was doing, long distance trucking driving across the lines, whatever, big wheeler, and we could keep in touch because they had the ham radios back then, and he was learning about all of that stuff. and CD, whatever they were calling it. It was a closed circuit type of walkie-talkie situation that you could have with, the person who was the driver and the dispatch, and you could have it with your wife if you wanted to. But anyway, we had a plan. And then the plan got changed by Madam Crack and her boyfriend. The same woman who was living in that same building with me and was living there because she had left her abusive husband finally, and she was speaking to her parents because her parents wouldn't let her come and stay with her, and she lost custody of her kids and the whole 9 yards, and she has all this anger and everything. But she's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady. And she was my friend, I thought, until the night when my husband decided he was going to try to beat me, which was the actual end of things. But this was no time. This was like within a week or 10 days. There was no time. It wasn't even that long. It wasn't even. It was the weekend. It was the weekend. Like that. Oh my goodness. I don't want to think about this. But anyway, her boyfriend gave him the crack, and okay, we were broken up already, but he had come back around. That's what it was. We weren't living together. We had already, the job hadn't moved yet, but he was just, you know, in and out and in and out. But it still wasn't a month yet. But he had already shown his behind. And I'd already made phone calls, and they said I couldn't get an annulment because we had gotten married at the Justice of the Peace. That's what you need to know. Anybody. If you go to Justice of the Peace, you have to get an annulment. That's like a law. If you go to the preacher can, not sign the papers, or he can annul it or something like that. He got time to do that. But when the judge does something, it's a law. Just like if you went to court and he made a judgment, the judge's judgment sticks. So you have to get a divorce. And in New York, you have to wait a year before you can get a divorce. So even though we weren't together anymore, I still had to be married to him for a year. Oh, my God. And within that year, that's when I was able to get away from him. And, by the time the year was up, he didn't know where I was. And I didn't really know where he was, but I had filed a missing persons complaint against him because I wanted him to sign these papers when I got them. I hired a lawyer, got the papers. The police had picked him up for something, and they were getting ready to let him go. And he had gotten bailed out. And when they were getting ready to let him go, they looked on the computer, and they saw that he had a missing person on him, and they called me, and I told them to hold him, and I told them, and they knew that I was his wife, and they couldn't let him go, and he had no idea. And whoever the woman was that bailed him out, she was gone. By the time I got to the precinct, I called my attorney, and we got down to the precinct, and the attorney's name was Rodney Batts. And we got down to the precinct in Hempstead, and they had held him for me, and he was served the papers, and whatever signatures had to be signed was signed, and I had already paid the attorney, and we was cool. 2-2 when I said that. See? And, yeah. And the last time I saw him, he was walking down the street looking like Skeletoid, all gray. He wasn't that beautiful man anymore. He was looking all grizzly and gray and bug-eyed. And I asked the police what did they have him in jail for, and they said they found him in a hallway in one of these, buildings. It wasn't like it was wintertime. It was like cold enough. It was maybe September, October. It was about a year. About a year. Right. And when I saw him, he had like a knot on his head. And I said to him, I said, "What happened to you?" And then the police officer said a spider bit him on his head. When we found him in the hallway, he had a spider bite on his head. And I was like, "You were sitting in the hallway long enough for a spider to bite you and the police to catch you?" And he was like, "Yeah. What's this paperwork?" And I was like, "Dude, listen." He was like, "Am I going to have to pay you child support? No, am I going to have to pay you alimony or something?" I said, "I don't want nothing from you but my name back, and that's it. And act like, and just forget this ever happened." And he stood there with his cigarette hanging out of his lip, and he signed the paper. And then the last image I had of him was walking down the street looking, like I said, his pants was basically falling off his ass. And he had the divorce papers in his back pocket. And he asked me for $10 before he left. And I said, "No, you can ask whoever it was that bailed you out. Let her give it to you." And he just laughed. He said, "Wow." He said, "Yeah, I know, PB, I know." And he just kept walking. I mean, of course, it hurt me to see him in that state. It hurt me that that relationship didn't work out. But, ooh-wee. I'm so grateful that I did not follow my heart, that I used my brains, because I knew that it wasn't going to get no better. And that woman, that friend, that Marie, that lived in the same building, that her boyfriend gave him the crack. I didn't remember that until recently, that was who did it. And he had stolen my car, and he had locked me out of my house, and the police said that they weren't going to ever come back. And it was one of these kind of weekends, like Columbus Day weekend, or no, it had to be like it's sometime in November weekend. No, but it might have been, because the court was closed that Monday, and I was locked out of my house. I had nowhere to stay. And I asked Marie, could I come stay with her? And she told me, no. Go make up with your husband. And walked back, turned her back and went up the steps. This is the woman that her husband was beating her ass on a regular. That's why I say, don't worry about your girlfriends. You worry about yourself, right? Don't listen to no woman that's going to tell you, oh, if my husband did this, I would do this and that. Don't even listen. Don't even. Just follow your own. Because I've seen women say, oh, what they would and would not do, and what they would not take. Even my situation, and everybody's telling me, oh, they wouldn't be with him, and this and that and that and the other. I wasn't listening to them. I was worrying about myself. But this is while the two of us were going together. Nobody had time to say all of that, because by the time he stopped working and all of this, that I was out. I wasn't even out of there. He was out of there, and I had gotten an order of protection, so he couldn't be in my house anymore. And that was the other thing they said, that as long as we were married, he had the right, unless I had that order of protection, to come to my house with a U-Haul truck if we wanted to, and take everything, even though my name was on the lease, even though I had lived there before we got married, even though everything in the house was mine and my daughter's. It didn't matter, because he was my husband. So, of course, we changed the locks, and we got the order of protection, everything right away. And the only reason I got an order of protection at that time was because my daughter was not his child. Had she been his child, I would have had a problem. And the judge told me that himself. So that's how the laws were back then in the 80s. You know, I don't know that they've gotten much better in terms of protecting women and children in those situations. But that was my protection, was that he was not her father. Because had he been her father, he would have had a right to come there and see her. And that would have been a problem. See? Thank you. So anyway, protection. Rejection is protection. So, sometimes rejection is protection. So anyway, and I was able to send her away for a year, and so she stayed with her father's family for a year, which was wonderful. It turned out not to be such a wonderful thing, but at the time it gave me a chance to move and breathe and find a new apartment, and him not know where I lived and the whole 9 yards. Like I said, he didn't know where I lived until he never knew where I lived. He never knew where I lived, but I still had the same phone number. But I moved really quickly. Like within a month, I was gone from where I was when we got married, and then it just took the time of right. By the time right after the holidays, right after November, right after Thanksgiving, because he had the nerve to come to my door on Thanksgiving looking for Thanksgiving dinner, and asking me if I wanted to go with him to his sister's house. I was like, and here I'm two again. I said, do I look like I have anything to be grateful for? And he was standing outside of my window, yelling my name, calling me by my government. And I was like, go away. I didn't even go out the door. I just wouldn't even open the door for him. And I told him to go away, because he had ruined my Thanksgiving. He ruined my life. Just go ahead. I wasn't cooking for him. And if I was cooking at all, it wouldn't be for him. And I certainly wasn't going with him to anywhere. And then he had done crazy stuff. He had broken into our apartment and stolen things and made it look like it was a thief. When my baby came home from school off of the school bus, she thought somebody had broken in the house because he left the door open. She was a baby. She was like 5. Like, what was he doing? Oh, my God. But anyway, that was one story. Let me see what other craziness. I had another guy who was an officer when I was an officer. Just came in the academy and I came in the academy. And he pulled a gun on me in my house when my daughter was in the next room sleeping because I didn't want to have sex with him. Ended up working for the department for a long time, was working for the chief. Probably part of the crew that's been, stalking me. But yeah, that was another crazy maniac guy. And I did the same, prayed. I just locked myself in my bathroom and prayed. Because again, there were no cell phones, things like that, so everything was where he was. So, my advice would be do not date police officers or correctional officers. That would be my advice. Not worth it. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It really isn't. It really isn't. Unless you knew somebody before they got on the job or something like that. But for the most part, there's holes where their hearts need to be. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm talking about my ex-husband, who is nothing at all like a correction officer, but he's a criminal, and there's a thin line. There's a thin line between criminality and corrections. I don't care who hears it, but this is the truth. So now let me see. I remember one day walking down the street. It was Easter Sunday, and I had this dress that had like a jacket to it, like a bolero jacket, but it had a skirt that was like a high skirt, and it was like pastel greens and pinks, really pretty, really pretty. And I paid a couple of dollars for it at Macy's at the time, and had high heels on. Well, not high, but as high as I was wearing, because I wasn't able to wear high heels after I had my daughter. Medium heels, maybe. And I was going to the deli from my house. And I lived on the main road at that time when I was with him. I lived on the main road. And I was looking cute. It was Easter Sunday. and I was going to get something to make for breakfast real quick. Like, I was in the middle of cooking or something for Easter Sunday, and I remembered something. I ran to the deli to get it, and I was looking nice, and I caused the accident on Nassau Road. Some man busy trying to holler at me caused an accident on Nassau Road. So that happened. Actually, that happened twice. I know for sure I caused two accidents at different times in the same stretch because men were looking. But it was crazy for them to be doing that at that spot in the road anyway. I think they put stoplights up around there since then over the years, because it was just, everybody was always getting accidents over there. And it was right near the cemetery too. hmm And yeah, but twice. So yes. All right, what else did I want to tell to make sure that my granddaughter knows about me? I won a hot legs contest we went to like Chippendales, like strippers for men. So we were a bunch of girls went to see male strippers, right? In Belmore, I think it was. And could have been over here in Baldwin. It could have been Gentlemen's Quarters in Baldwin. But whatever it was, they had a hot legs contest at this place. And I was out with my girlfriends from work who, like I said before, the, there wasn't many black girls. I might have been just me or two of us at the time. And the other girl, she was Jehovah's Witness. She wasn't going out nowhere with them like that. And we went to Chippendale. Not Chippendales, but the Gentlemen's Quarters. And once a week, they would do ladies' night. That's what it was. And I went with them to this male stripper club. And during that time, they had a contest called Hot Legs. And I came in first place. I won that. And they had another contest, of course. I would have won that, but I wasn't trying to do all that was going on for that. So I was like, nah, we'll be all right. But yeah, I would have won that. I think I came in second place in that because I wasn't trying. But this other girl, she did. But that's the kind of crazy things they did back then. They had, girls went wild parties and stuff in the 90s. My daughter, not her generation, but she was a little girl. I remember seeing that on television, that kind of stuff. So the guys were there doing their dance, but afterwards, they had the contest. By that time, the women had been drinking and they were, a little loose. So, yeah, so I won a hot legs contest. I had a T-shirt and the whole 9 yards. I'm sure I've outgrown that by now. Yeah, so that's what else. What else did I do that you want to know? Okay, I won the New York State scholarship, Regents in high school. And I went to the college that I went to, William Smith College in Geneva, on a full scholarship, everything. I only owed $100 a year. And I know $100 for the whole 4 years, that's all I ever owed. And I owed that to the chaplain's office, and I think I paid her back by now. But if not, I got to do that. Let me see what else. So I was a dental assistant. I worked as a optician's assistant also. Opticians make, eyeglasses, so I did that. I learned how to be a dental assistant through the work program, summer youth corps program in Brooklyn at the time. That was my summer job, and it turned into a career in a way. Dr. Kazan, Dr. Harding's office on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. Franklin and Eastern Parkway, maybe? Or Bedford and Eastern Parkway. Whatever. It was right there near Washington Temple and near the train station. on Eastern Parkway exit, Dr. Kazan and Dr. Harding's office. And I got hired there, and then they liked me so much that they hired me through the school year. So during the summer, the city paid me, and during the school year, the doctors paid me. And then when the next summer came, we did it the same way. I applied for that. They requested me, so the city paid my salary, and then when school was open, the doctor paid me the same thing that the city paid me, and I helped him. He had two other girls there also, so they were all adults, and I was a kid. I was in high school, but they liked me, and I was tall, and I looked, like I blended in with them, so it wasn't like I was a little kid. And he bought me a typewriter when I went to college, and they took me out to dinner in Chinatown, and they had the Peking duck and the whole, bang with the bell and the whole thing brought to the table and all of that. Wonderful, wonderful experience. And they were Jewish doctors, too. It took me, and we had the Peking duck. Was it Peking duck? It might have been a duck. I'm thinking it was the pork. I think it was the pig. But whatever it was, whatever they banged the symbol out when they bring it, it might have been Peking duck. But it was good. Crispy, crispy, crispy. Yeah. It could have been Peking duck. But it didn't matter, because Dr. Kazan didn't care, neither did Dr. Harding. They ate what they wanted to eat. Dr. Harding would make ribs and the whole 9 yards. They would go fishing sometimes. They would go hunting, They wasn't that type of Jewish, they told me. But some of the guys that I worked with later that were dentists, they were practicing. Not practicing Hasidim, more, not even Orthodox, more, there were some rules that they would follow, but there were other rules that they would break. Like one doctor, he would recognize the Sabbath, and the rest of the doctors didn't really. They were open every day of the week. But we were closed on Jewish holidays. We were closed on official Jewish holidays. We were closed. Yeah. And one of the doctors worked other places. He worked in another office, so he would be working even on those days too. He was too much. Dr. Block. He was too funny. But anyway, interesting. So anyway, let me see what else. And Andre, she was the receptionist there. She was Haitian. Her and her family were from Haiti. And she had twin boys. And they had 6 fingers, and they were joined at the fingers when they were born. They're not joined now, but they were at the. She had a picture of them as babies like that. They were 6 fingers, and they were conjoined twins with 6 fingers. And I've seen them. They're grown up big boys. One of them was working at a car dealership with my son's father was working as the supervisor of the mechanics, and her son was one of the dealers at the dealership, which was really funny that the two of them knew each other. But see, there's only 6 degrees of separation, right? There's things come around, and people you meet, you never know who knows who, right? So anyway. Let's see what else. 6 degrees of separation. That is, like I said, you never know who knows who. And most people that you know, there's 6 people you're 6 people away from knowing that person. You know, like there's someone, when you finally meet them, you realize that there was 6 people along the way that could have steered you towards this person. It's weird, but there's a movie called 6 Degrees of Separation. I want to say Will Smith is in it, but go check that out. And it could be the other guy that was married, um, Brian, what's his name? Bruce Willis, maybe, maybe not. No. It's Will Smith and the girl that was in Greece. Not no, not Sandy. The other girl. And the man that his son Kiefer Sullivan's father, Donald Sullivan. Donald Sullivan and Will Smith, and I know her name too. But you know what I'm talking about. When you watch Grease, she's the one that was the bad girl. She sang "Look at Me, I'm Sandra Dee, Dirty with Virginity. Won't go to bed till I'm legally wed. I can't, I'm Sandra Dee." Yeah, her. Um, yeah, that kind of nonsense. Only the good die young type of headset. I always loved that song, and I shouldn't, but it's like, stop. There's some things that are just so corny to me, and always have been, about, people being prudish. But then but so far I'm gonna go. You know, just so far I'm gonna go, and that's just it. And I know why, and I know who I am. And if somebody is trying to change you, then they don't like you. They thought they liked you. There was something about you they liked. There was something about you that they found useful. But they didn't really like you. They liked what they wanted you to be. They liked the potential of what they saw. Just like we do. So men do it too. But we don't call it, looking at a man's potential. When they do it, it's really manipulation. Because it's not that they're looking and admiring and seeing that you're going to blossom. It's like that Machiavellian thing, that Lolita thing. Or they could take this young woman, or they could take this woman or this child and mold them into who it is that they want them to be. Nah, man. Nah. This is not a doll's house. This is not, you're not going to just create 2112, and I'm saying this, you're just not going to. There are men in the world, be aware, that want to mold you into the image of not only someone that they idolize, even could be somebody that hurt them, but because they're so used to that, they want you to be that, because that's the only way they know how to operate. Now, you have a choice. You can do that. I would choose not to. I choose not to. Because then that's giving up a side of myself. Now, maybe you'd be comfortable in that position. There are many women who are comfortable in that position. And that's their choice. But I value myself, and I value who I am, and the experiences that I have had, and the worth that I bring to the table. And even if I don't bring any worth to the table, I'm not a Stepford wife, and I'm certainly not going to be the mirror image of what it is that you hate. Why are you trying to turn me into that? Mm-mm. Or why? And I'm not trying to be compared to anybody. I'm not competing with anyone. And it's not because I think I'm better than anybody. It's just, no, that's sick. Makes no sense. But it's all a learning experience, right? And again, we do things to one another, or we see things in one another that are mirroring us. And it's a lesson. And so now you know your dark side and you know your light side. But it comes a time when there has to be a decision made. And the decision was already made. And there's been nothing that has happened to convince me that it should be any different. Nothing good. Nothing good. Nothing good has been presented to me to make me feel that it might be worth my faith. No. You haven't presented anything to me that makes... No. No, because God has been with me all the time. And that's what you have to remember. You know? That at the end of the day, you will die alone. It doesn't matter whether you're married or you're in a relationship or whatever. You will be alone. Even if you die with other people, you will be by yourself. And you have to deal with whatever you have to deal with. So, no. Like I said, when I got married to my husband, it was good for me to have him be a truck driver because I knew that I would be able to miss him. I don't have a problem being separate. I don't. Because I look forward to knowing that he's coming. And I knew that. I knew that he would go away for a weekend or for weekend. Not even. Yeah, for a weekend. And go to Connecticut, and he would take the class, and then by time Sunday, time for him to get to work Monday, he would do that. He would be back. And he was taking the train. And to get that CDL, once he got that, then he would be gone for weeks at a time, maybe days at a time. I don't know. But I know that he wouldn't be up underneath me all the time. And I like that. I know that about myself. I know that even if I was married, there would have to be a room somewhere for me. Even if I was in an apartment, we'd have to have two bedrooms because I need a space just that I could go to for a little while. So I understand people needing their space. I'm with that. And again, I can adjust. Like I said, if I have to be with a person, be roommates, I can do that. It's just not even roommates, but to be in a relationship. I still need my spot. I need like an office. I need like a cave, like a man cave, right? I need that space. And maybe it's because of the PTSD from working, on corrections, or maybe everything, because taking the bus to school for long distances like I did, I had a lot of time to be by myself and think on the bus. Yes. When I went up to college, it was 8.5 hours away. I had a lot of time to sit with my thoughts. When I went to college, I had my roommate, but my roommate was never there, and I was never there. I was with Eddie. So Eddie had his own apartment, not his own apartment, they were in the house, and he had his own room. But when he was at class, I was in his room, so I had time to myself. And when I didn't want to talk to him, I could go back to my room across the street, and that was good. And then I was finished being mad at him, or he was finished being mad at me. He'd come to my room and he'd knock on the door, or I'd go back across the street to the house. And it was all right. We got along fine. I need my space, he needed space. He was born the same day as me, so that was just a Sagittarius thing. Needs his space. I need my space. I'm good. We'll be fine. And sometimes it had nothing to do with the other person. It's just, I need a couple of minutes. I need to do my work. I need to do my homework. I need to do some reading. I need to catch up on some things. And you just, a little while. A couple of hours. So, even when I used to come home here, I had somebody here, and he got very mad at me because I would be on the computer for like an hour or two before I came to talk to him. And I understand how women feel when their husbands don't talk to them when they come home from work. But sometimes you just need to unwind and be with your thoughts. And you need just to play a video game, or to do something, write, or not even talk to anybody, just to be by yourself, doing something mindless, whatever it is. It's just, especially, I guess, when you work in law enforcement, either that or you're going to be out at the bar, or they're going to be somewhere doing something bad, and you don't want that. So you need to, but it's something that is, again, 2121. The rejection is a protection. Them not coming home to you, or going to their man cave, or going to their woman cave, is in your best interest and in theirs. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means they need some time, and they will come out of it. But it doesn't have to be long periods of time. We're talking about a couple of hours. We're talking about, 2122. An hour or two. Not even a day. Or maybe a day or two. Maybe a weekend. But not long stretches of time. With my husband being a CDL driver or whatever, maybe it would have been away for 2 weeks. Maybe could have been a month. I don't know. But I knew that he was going to be back. And that was okay. Because I knew he was coming back. But for him not to come back, there needed to be some type of resolution, or else I would not have been able to get over it. So I needed that closure. And that's what I've gotten, right? Always. But sometimes you got to get that closure yourself, like I did with my husband. I got it myself. Because if not, I would have still been hanging on. As much as it hurt me, I had to take matters into my... It was embarrassing to tell everybody that your marriage that you just had last week is done. You haven't even gotten your marriage certificate in the mail yet. But every time, the first time was the hardest time to tell the story. But every time I told the story, I felt more and more empowered. When people say that stuff is real, there's something to know that you did it, that you persevered, that you made it through this, you survived that, and came out the other side. Yes, you may be traumatized. Yes, you might be embarrassed. Yes, you might be broke, but you survived it. And you're able to talk about it. You know when they say, tell the truth and shame the devil? That is part of it. Because the things that you keep inside, that's the darkness that other people can hold against you. Can't nobody hold that against me. I already told that story. You can't tell a secret that is not a secret. Now, you could hurt me with it. You could trigger me with it. But I'm not embarrassed by it. There's a difference. I had a life. Of course I had a life. There are things that I did just like every crazy other person during that time. But there's some things I did not do. There are things that I tried. There are things that I tested. And I knew what was for me and what was not for me. I made my choices. Some choices were bad. Some choices were good. But they were my choices. My choices. My choices. Mine. I stopped letting other people make my choices when I moved out of my mother's house. I stopped letting other people make my choices when I stood up to my daughter's father when I was pregnant. I stopped people from making choices for me when I came outside and I saw that there was a outline of a dead body in the courtyard outside of the apartment, and we lived in a brownstone in Brooklyn, and on the first floor in the parlor, and there was caution tape around and a chalk outline of a dead body, and the police didn't even knock on my door. That means somebody got killed, and all of that went on, and I wasn't even, nobody bothered, and my baby's crib is right there. I was out of there in a month. I was gone. Nobody's gonna make those choices for me. But there are men out there, there are people out there that will try to make choices for you. They're abusive. They're rapists. They're manipulators. They're men that you think are your friends. They're not. They're men, people, but in my case, I'm talking about men, but they're women too. Women do dirt, believe me. But in terms of guys, there are some that'll look you dead in your face and really dislike you and let you think that they love you or that they're your friend. And when it comes down to it, no. And it's only because you're a woman. Because they got that mindset. Male chauvinist pigs is real, babe. Misogyny is real. And some people, it's just part of who they are. And it's overbearing. It can be. Because if you're going to tell somebody that all the things that I am, you don't like, and you don't like me. If I got to choose between you and my spirituality, I got to choose my spirituality. I got to choose God because God hasn't failed me yet, as opposed to you. There's no competition between you and God. Just like there's no competition between me and whatever image you have of me, or that you have of what I'm supposed to be, or what I was, or what I am. Whoever it is that you think even who you think I am or was, I was never that. Just like apparently you were never who I thought you were. And that's okay. Because according to astrology, for me and my friend now, my divine masculine, we are exactly where we're supposed to be. At this age, we will have gotten to the point where we have grown apart. But had we gotten together during our youth, it would have been everything. But at this time in our lives, it's too many differences for it to work. That I read that in an astrology analysis of our compatibility, and it said that the challenges, if they're not worked out in our youth, when we get to this age, we will not be able to tolerate each other, and that's where we are. It's in the stars, see? I don't even know how I got over to that. I guess that needed to come out too. 2131, That's 7. Yep. Comes a time. But it's okay, because it is how it is. It's all the things that have gone on in my life, all the things that's going on in any of our lives, is as it should be. Part of the divine plan. Even if we don't like it. We already know we signed up for this. At the end of the day, we're just, God is just watching us. And the angels are looking out for us as our ancestors, as we do what we do. But at the end of the day, if it gets out of hand, then divine intervention comes in and puts a stop to it somehow. And rather than somebody getting hurt, rather than somebody going to jail, rather than somebody getting killed, rather than somebody dying, just leave it alone. Yeah. All's fair. All's fair in love. Yep, all in love is fair. Stevie Wonder, telling you, he is David. He is the psalmist to the awakening. Fulfilling this first finale. It's over. 2133. Yep, it's over. Anyway, 99.43, 99.44. Alrighty. I'm going to come back with more stories. But right now, I think I've said enough. This went a different way. But anyway. This is not about everybody's twin flame journey. Maybe to someone out there that needs to hear this too. I don't know. Because usually when I give a message, it's not just for me, it's for someone else. Even if it's one person, even if it's 12 people, 10 people, it doesn't matter. And it might not be today, it might be another day. But choose yourself and choose your destiny. Choose God. It's going to be all right. However way it goes, it's going to go the way it's supposed to go. And it's okay to let it go. And you don't have to sit around and wait for somebody to get their karma or nothing like that. My husband, bad things happen to him. I never thought about it as his karma. Not for nothing that he did to me. I really don't. I feel more sorry for his victims and sad that this is who he became. But I never thought of anything that happened to him as karma for anything that went on with he and I at all. Not at all. And if it was, I wasn't looking at it. I didn't even look at it. The only reason I know what has happened to him is because my intuition told me one morning to get up and go to the computer and Google his name, and up came the information. And then it was on a 48 hours, like one of those TV shows. It was 48 hours, but it was on. And here he was. I'm telling you, I don't know how these things have happened to me in my life. Of course it was upsetting when I saw what he had done. It wasn't even accused of allegedly. He already admitted to it. This had happened years before, but I didn't know nothing about it. He's in another state. But that morning, they wanted me to know. I don't even know when it happened as in comparison to what I don't know. In comparison to what I had when I had gone to the computer. I don't even remember the year, how long it had been since I'd seen him last. It had been many, many, many years. I was almost retired. I was still on a job, but it was long after it. So it had to be. It was in the 2000s. Oh my goodness. And my intuition told me get up and go to the computer and Google his name, and there he was. The article, the newspaper, the interview from the victim's family, the whole 9 yards, and I'm like, and then it was a 48 hours episode, and it came across. It told me to Google some more. It was a couple of years later, and it said Google it, and there it was in the archives of 48 hours, and I was able to watch it. And you know what? It could be on YouTube as we speak now that I'm saying this. Because probably everything's on YouTube now, right? Oh my God. Not everything is on. Because I went to see Llewelyn Van Zandt on her show when she was working for Barbara Walters during the time her and Oprah had fallen out. She felt, whatever. And then her and Oprah are back together again. But during that time, she had gone to work for Barbara Walters, and Barbara Walters gave her a show, and it was the Iyanla Vanzant show, and that's when I met her, and I was actually on the show as a guest, like interviewed, and me and uh, Susan Smith. She was a gossip columnist. She just died recently. Ann Smith or Susan Smith? Last name was Smith, I think. Very nice lady. A white lady. And there was another person on too, and he was a gossip columnist also, I believe. Celebrity, somebody. I forget who that man was, but I know there was another man there. And Susan Smith, I believe. She died a few years ago, recently, like within the last 5-6 years. But anyway, can't find that, and I've searched for it. It could be there, but it's somewhere hidden. But these are, who knows if it was, it was on ABC. It was taped. I probably have a DVD of it downstairs, actually. Probably. Because somebody might have taped it for me at home. But they sent a limousine to pick me up. My girlfriend went with me. One of the girls from work. She went with me. And they sent a limo. I got my makeup done, the whole 9 yards. She actually called me a few weeks ago, too. And we talked. I hadn't heard from her in a while. Long, long time. Mata. Matta. Mata. Yeah. And, I'm trying to see. Yeah. So I've done that. I met Minister Farrakhan in my life twice. And I saw him 3 times speak. Twice in Brooklyn. And once he came as a guest to Hobart and William Smith Colleges. We sponsored him, part of the Minority Affairs program. I was a recording secretary. And he came to speak. I was pregnant with my daughter. And he recognized my accent, even though I didn't know I had one, but he was able to recognize it because his mother is from Barbados, so he knew. He knew it was Panamanian. That's how good he was. And he told me that my child was blessed. That's okay. Anyway. She sure was. She's blessed to have me as a mother. Oh, I can't say that. No, not about her, about Minister Farrakhan. Spirit told me to say he's been wrong before. Yeah, he has, because I was watching a video of his the other night, and he had me up into a moment, and then I was like, yo, dude. But again, this mindset, this mindset. It's like, imagine you're a Democrat and you find out that your man's a Republican. What? What is there to think about? Are you crazy? Done. Some people you can do that with, because it's not a constant. But when somebody's constantly picking at you and triggering you about that thing, what are you doing? I'm trying to be nice here. And again, it could go back and forth. It's all a matter of perception. So maybe that's part of the lesson, perception, right? Could be 2144. Matter of perception. Both feeling the same thing about one another, coming at it from different angles, and no one is communicating, so things fall apart. It's all right. My heart was in the right place. Maybe it wasn't received correctly, or maybe it was misplaced because someone else made a decision for me. Yep. All those koi fish in front of the TV right now on my screen. Going into the... just swimming around. Yeah. I want to say abyss, because it looks like they're falling off the cliff into the water. But it's just the way that you perceive it, because it could just be the shadow of the coral makes it look like that on the water, on the bottom of the ocean. No one knows what lies at the bottom of the ocean. Weird. Anyway, 11:27. When I said that on the clock here, how many minutes I've been on. Anyway, let me get out of here. I will be talking to you guys some other time. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for all the thumbs up. And I will be talking to you guys later. Peace. Good night.